Call this meeting to order. This is the special district selection canvass, dated May 15th, 2025 at 1:30 p.m. And we are here to canvass the May 6th, 2025 special districts election. And in the interest of having a good solid record of this, I'm going to start this by having everybody introduce themselves. If you'll start on this side, we'll go around.
Wendy Adamson from Canyon Creek.
William Adamson from Canyon Creek.
Sam Stigman, Canyon Creek.
Rebecca Stickman, Canyon Creek.
Connie Horder, Canyon Creek.
Next, Connor Fitzpatrick, Lewis and Clark County Elections.
Tammy Harbor, Accounting Office.
Amy Reeves, County Election Administrator. Lisa Callio, Parker District Court.
Tom Rolfe, County Commission.
Candace Payne, County Commission, and over there keeping records is our friend Nadine, who knows how to run the recording, right?
Indispensable.
Indispensable. Okay, well, that being the case, we've got 3 county officials here, and take it away, Connor.
Either one. Yeah, you want to kick off?
Today we're gathered to talk about the special district canvass here on the election that was held on May 6th. Just to note on the sheets that I've handed out, we also have the school district that was running at the same time. We had school district 1, which is the Helena School District, and the East Helena School District, which is school district 9. So when you're looking at these sheets, you will see ELO1, which is elementary for school district 1, HSO1, which is high school for school district 1. We also have the K1209, which is the 12 it's K through 12 school district 9 East Helena district. On here you'll see TLF, that's Tri Lakes Fire, and then we also have the Canyon Creek Fire, which is CCF. So basically we'll be mostly talking about the Tri Lakes Fire and the Canyon Creek Fire districts, but we'll go through all the numbers today. And I do want to say before we start, I'm going to give my staff and all our volunteers, all our temps, I want to give them a special shout out. We did balance exactly this time. We had no precinct swaps, meaning that no one in this election got the wrong ballot. They got the one that was for their area. And we gave out 46,000 ballots issued. So when you look at sending out that many and no errors on who got what, we had a great turnout that way. Usually we have a few at the very bottom that are off between precincts. The other thing is we changed our forms this time and we streamlined a lot of our processes, and that also resulted into us not having any errors. So we had no differences on the ballots that were received through the tabulation process to what was issued through the database, the voter database. So we're extremely excited.
That's fabulous. Congratulations, Amy
and staff for sure.
And the staff. You are a team, and I want really, where in the heck is the independent record? We need to people take a lot of grief about the elections, and oh my God, there's gonna be problems in it. And you do a good job, so thank you.
I'll pass along comments, but sure, thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and start. We'll start here on this Excel spreadsheet, which is the blue form, and that is it's going to have a little bit of everything. We have a little bit of our electability, which is our voter database. We go through, this is a mail ballot election, so we go through all the affirmation processes. We then go through the opening and secrecy processes, and then the tabulation process. So each time those ballots are switching hands, they're being always with a team of 2 to 3, depending on the process. So we'll just go through all of that. And also on here, you're going to see the columns again with the ELO1, the HSO1, the Tri Lake Fire, the Canyon Creek Fire being CCF. So we'll start here with the number of registered voters. We had a total of 46,110 in this election. The first side of this spreadsheet, you will see it by the ballot style. The second part of this spreadsheet is by the entity itself. So you either have the elementary for the school district or the high school. You may have the K through 12 for East Helena. Then you have Canyon Creek and Tri Lakes. Please note that Canyon Creek is in HSO1 and also by itself. The one that is strictly just CCF only had 35 voters. We had 41. We issued ballots to 41, but only had 35. Those people in CCF are landowners. They are not a registered voter in Lewis and Clark County, but they do own land in the Canyon Creek Fire District, so they are allowed to vote. So you have to add those two columns to get to the total of the Canyon Creek. Tri-Lakes is located in EL01, HSO1, and also if we had any landowners, they would have been on here. But we didn't have any landowners in the Tri-Lakes fire that weren't in the area that voted. So those ones we didn't have to have a separate column for. So we've done our registered voters, and then there is a breakdown for the number of registered voters on each. And again, that Canyon Creek Fire CCF shows 0 because they are not registered in Lewis and Clark County. But in the Helena High School District with Canyon Creek Fire, we had 298 registered voters. In our Tri-Lakes Fire with the Elementary High School District, there was 1,096 voters. We issued
For the 2,700, 2,776 further in
Oh,
the East Helena School District as well as Tri-Lakes Fire. So
oh, sorry, I missed
yeah,
that. Yes,
they're split between those two.
thank you.
Yep.
So yes, and then there on the K-1209 TLF, there's an additional 2,776 registered voters for that Tri-Lakes Fire District. So that's
Amy.
gonna be, yes.
I'm confused. I'm not following where some of these numbers.
Yes, so on the elementary one, this Helen Elementary, this number is derived from the column, the first column, the EL01 HSO1 plus the EL01 HSO1 Tri-Lake Fire, the TLF. The second column on this side is your high school district for Helena. So it's going to be any of them that had HSO1 here. The second column has HSO1, and third and fourth column. So it's a total of those 4 columns because all of those districts have Helena High School in them. So you have to add those.
I think if
So-
we back up a touch,
I
this
see.
might also help. So the special districts are done, their elections are done by district rather than by precinct with a federal election. So the reason we've got a couple of different like EL01, HSO1 styles is because the majority EL01, HSO1 is like the Helena area. So you don't have a Tri-Lakes Fire District that's having an election in there, or you don't have like Bldg, for example, where they didn't have an election.
But there is in this list of what appears to me to be schools is CCF, 298.
Yep,
Yes.
so those are folks that live in the Canyon Creek Fire area, but then that Canyon Creek Fire area is also covered by the Helena High School District. So that's why it's a combined ballot style.
Now,
It's based
I'm
on where
glad
you're at.
I asked,
This is where things get a little different compared to a
Well,
federal election.
And that's fine, but it's important that
Exactly.
not only
important
we
to know.
understand it, but those folks at home,
Totally.
they want to know. So, okay, thank you very much.
And then again, that Tri-Lakes Fire at the end here, that is the combination of the
On the other side of the
HSO1,
break.
EL01, HSO1 TLF, this column, and then the other column that has the K-1209 TLF.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
okay. All right, so then on our ballots issued, this is a mail ballot election, so we were able to send out ballots to all of our voters. So
Active
those registered,
voters.
active registered voters
Sorry,
all got a ballot. The only difference between the total of the first line and the second line is the 41 Canyon Creek Fire landowners that do not actually register to vote in Lewis and Clark County. They could be even out of state, so.
They have to request a ballot from our office. So to do that, they provide a filled out form, and then they also provide proof that they paid their property taxes in the district. This is where the local government statutes for the fire district come into play. It's a little weird, wild, and wacky, but it is a
State law.
process that's laid out exactly. So yeah, this was only the second time since I've started in 22 that we had landowners request ballots. Prior to that, it looks like we had in our records folks request ballots back in 2019 for Canyon Creek elections as well. So this is also a little bit new for the Canvas board.
All right, so after our total registered voters and then total ballots issued, the sent and not returned. So those are ones that we issued out, but we never received back. For whatever reason, that voter may have decided not to vote, maybe they moved away. But those are the totals that we have there. So we had a total for the selection of 23,298. And then you'll see behind that it's broke down by district. And out of those districts, our Canyon Creek, go to our Tri-Lakes Fire, the second column. We had 526 in the Helena district, and then 1,864 in the East Helena district. You'd have to add those two together to get to the other side here where it's broken out by the entity. And then to total that 2,390. And then we have the Canyon Creek Fire, and again, We have the high school district of 112, and we have the 6 ballots for the landowners, and that would total the 118 on the other side here. So from there, we have basically our difference, which is the new column we put in, just so we could track and make sure everything is balancing, and just so we can see those processes. From that difference, we will be taking and subtracting off the process and rejected. We'll be subtracting off the canceled and voided and the undeliverable. And then you will get that process and accepted total. And that process and accepted total matches what ElectMT has. The process and rejected total, we had a total of 801. For the Trilix Spire, it totaled a 72, and that's again adding those 2 columns that had the TLF in them. And then our Canyon Creek Fire had the had a total of 6, which was strictly in the HSO1 CCF. Then we had each type of why they were rejected. We have no signature, the signature did not match, and then late for registration. So, or late for election. So that means that we received their ballot either in our office or by mail after the election, so the following day. And we had quite a few people thinking that Wednesday was Tuesday. So we had people coming to drop off their ballots. And then the other, we didn't have any. Then the other, what did you say?
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think we had 5 people come in person to drop off on Wednesday, and it's like you missed it by that much. So as it goes.
And we do go to the post office on election night right at 6 o'clock, right before they close, to make sure that we can account for every ballot that was mailed. So our no signatures, we had a total for Trilix Fire of 5. And make sure I'm on the right line. No, 3, sorry, I'm on the wrong line. And then we had a total for Canyon Creek of 0. Signatures did not match. We had a total of Trilix of 5, and then 3 for the Canyon Creek district. For the whole election, it was 42 of no signatures, 47 they did not match. And then for the late registration, or late after election, oh my goodness, I want to say it. Late for election, 712 total for this election. 64 of them were Tri-Lake Fire, and 3 of them were the Canyon Creek Fire. We also have canceled and voided ballots. Those are going to be, I'm going to back up, sorry. The signature did not match, or no signature. We do try to follow up with those voters. We send letters, we have phone calls. We have someone specifically in the office doing that, trying to reach out to those voters and trying to get those things taken care of. Our canceled and voided, we did not have any at all for this election. Oh, no, sorry, other, that was other, I'm off. I need a ruler. Let me go back to using a piece of paper here. So our canceled and voided, we have a total of 2901 for the whole election. The Trilix Fire had a total of 155, and the Canyon Creek Fire had 18. So the canceled and voided can be a voter moved out of our county into another county. They could have asked for a new ballot because they spoiled it by accidentally filling it out wrong, or maybe it got ate by the dog. But either way, we can reissue those and void those out. The undeliverables, I'm going to have Connor explain because I'm kind of at a loss.
So ballots by Montana law can't be forwarded. So these are ones that came back from the post office saying that they were undeliverable to the voter that it was addressed to. So in the case of that, we actually send a forward service requested postcard that's supposed to try and chase down the voter. As soon as we get those, which we're hoping that they get back to us as soon as possible undeliverable, so that a postcard has enough time to go through the post office and get to where it needs to go, and even potentially come back in time for the election. But of course, we do get 1 or 2 undeliverables throughout the election, typically 1 or 2 each day. We did get a total of, I think it was about 4 trays was our big day for undeliverables, which is pretty typical for an election, especially one such as this size. But overall, all those folks got something forwarded to them from our office the day we received that undeliverable ballot, and it's just up to them to get back to us and go, hey, this is my new address. Or sometimes, because the post office folks are human too, We have people come in and go, I haven't moved. That's been my address for the past however many years. And in which case, if we have their undeliverable ballot, it's during the election, we can just give them that ballot and then just keep an eye on it and go, if it comes back as undeliverable again, I get to talk to the postmaster. So lucky me.
Okay, and then on that, I believe if we are able to issue that back to that voter, we issue them a new ballot, or do we?
If they come in having moved, they have two choices. They can either vote in their last precinct one last time, or they can get a ballot for their new precinct. If they do come in and get a ballot for their new precinct, then that original ballot falls into that canceled void status, because we void that in the system so that they only have the one active ballot that they can vote with us. If they choose to vote one last time in their old precinct, then we'll take the undeliverable ballot out of an undeliverable batch in Elect MT. Note that it was removed so that when we go back to reconcile, literally every category on this thing is reconciled by our office. That they can vote that one last time, and then they'll also fill out a form to update their address with us that we'll punch in after the election. So we had a few of those, but not too many with this one.
So in that instance, it would go to the accepted status versus the undeliverable status and Elect MT and be tracked that way. So after we took our ballots issued, less the ones we didn't get returned, took off all our rejected, the voided, the undeliverables, we have our process and accepted line, which is in blue, and we were able to process 1,180 from Tri-Lakes Fire and 192 from Canyon Creek Fire. But this election, we had 18,063 total come through. After that, the next area you'll see is our affirmation and our secrecy area. That's where we're opening those affirmations, we're balancing them, we're splitting the secrecy from the affirmation. That way you don't know whose secrecy envelope that is, but you have already verified the signature is correct. So after that point, we're going to go ahead and they will check each of those, each of our processes. We count how many ballots or envelopes we start with, and then we make sure that that's the same thing that we have when we're done before we pass it on to the next board. And they counted a total of 18,063 affirmation envelopes, and then in our Tri-Lakes Fire, they had 1,180, and in our Canyon Creek Fire, they had 192. As they're splitting those affirmations off, they're making sure that we actually do get a secrecy in those. If there was a difference, they'd be noting that down, and we do consider that a valid difference, and we track that. In this instance, all of those numbers stayed the same. They didn't have any empty affirmations, or at least an affirmation that didn't have a secrecy in it, or a ballot. If someone were to return just their ballot without that secrecy, we grab that ballot, throw it in a secrecy without really looking at the ballot. We just stuff it in there and it would have a secrecy. After that point, it goes to our secrecy opening, which is a different board. The secrecy opening happens Thursday, Friday, Monday, and then the Tuesday of election day. And it's open to observers. We will have different boards doing that, and they're going to go through, and they verified that when they got them, it matched the affirmations that should have been passed on. So they know that all the way through, we still have the same number of ballots inside of those envelopes, whichever envelope it might be. So we had the total of the 18,063. Our Tri-Lakes Fire was still at the 1,180, and our Canyon Creek Fire still had 192. Again, our numbers kept matching perfectly, so that was great. While they're doing the secrecy opening, they will compare to make sure that that secrecy envelope actually has a ballot in it. They make sure that it's in the right district. In this instance, instead of precinct, it's going to be by ballot style, and they're going to make sure it has the official ballot stamp on it. As they're opening those and splitting them apart, there were 2 envelopes that had just instructions. There was no ballots in them. And then on the other side, there was 2 more, and I have them on the back side of your stuff here for reasoning of why. The 2 that were with the instructions were in the EL01, HSO1, and the other 2 were just in the HSO1. One of those were totally empty. It didn't have a ballot in it. And then the other one, the voter actually signed their ballot, and by law, we cannot accept that because it was an identifying mark, and you can't have identifying marks on your ballot. So And looking at those, neither of those ballots, as you look at those columns, the ELO1, HSO1, or the HSO1, neither of those affected the Tri-Lakes or the Canyon Creek Fire District. But we did have 4 ballots rejected. So when they accepted those, we went from the 18,063 minus the total of 4 rejected ballots to the 18,059. And the 18,059 was then carried forward to the tabulator room for tabulation. We get those in batches, and they're telling us how much we did in each batch, and we're verifying that when the tabulator counts the number of pieces of paper it's running through. So in that 18,059, we had 1,180 from Tri-Lakes, and as you know, that number is following through this, basically the half of this sheet here, and then we still have that 192 from Canyon Creek Fire. Below that is the differences. Again, this election was great. We had no differences, no real errors that popped up. Everybody was tracking everything great. We had good explanations. So very, very happy with how everything worked. And then at the very end, it has our voter turnout. Yes.
I'm not a mathematician, so I get confused by these things. I'm looking at the ballots counted on DS 850 and then ballots cast. And for Tri-Lakes Fire, that line says 6. Canyon Creek
6 blanks.
6 blanks.
0.
So go right
What?
above that. It's right above that. The 11,000, the 1,180 is what was cast, and then we had 6 blank ballots, meaning that the voter turned in a ballot but didn't vote anything on it.
Oh,
And that we did not have any blank ballots for Canyon Creek,
Okay.
but we did have a total blank ballots of 18 for this entire election that were turned back in.
okay, thank
And
you.
we do track those. And the tabulator is able to count those, so it's just verifying, and we'll show you that as we get on along here. At the very bottom, you have your voter turnout. That's the percentage of voters that actually sent in a ballot versus what was sent out to those active voters. And you'll see on that Canyon Creek Fire, the last column for them, right by the big dark line, is 0 or NA, because again, we don't have registered voters in our county for them, so you really can't make a percentage out of that. So that's just basically how that went. So I wanted to explain that. I put in your guys' packet, this is our report off of ElectMT, and again, we had to add the 35 ballots from Canyon Creek Fire. Those are those landowners that are not registered to vote. All we have in our ElectMT is our registered voters. And if you look at our registered voters at the very top of the page I was going through, you'll see that that total matched right here on there. And I probably should have said I for it's issued versus inactive. Very strange, but the I is issued, and then column A is your accepted ballots. And that's what we went through. And then you'll notice after accepted is your R, that's your rejected, which matches our 801 on our total in blue. And after that is your void, which is the 2901, void and canceled, and then the U for undeliverable. So we were able to balance back to ElectMT. And then the next section I have is page 1 of 2, and this is our tabulator results. This is a summarized one. And then I also included the detailed one, which is pages 1 through 9 at the bottom. So if you wanted to look at it by ballot style, you could, which is the first part that we went over on this Excel spreadsheet. So we did match back up to our 18,059 ballots cast. It shows the 18 that were blank and had our voter turnout, which of course, there's a little bit of rounding there. This says 39.16, we have 39.17. It's just the way that their system rounded it versus Excel. I did not try to alter that at all. And then just to let you all know, on here, it will tell you election day precinct reporting, 7 of 9. That was something that was questioned on this. We actually have 8 ballot styles, but here I have 7 listed. The Tri-Lake Fire, the one that would just be the landowners, didn't have any voters, so it did not get included in that 7 of 9. That would have been the 8 of 9. And then we had a school district election up in Lincoln. We did not hold that election, but because of new legislation, we have to have their programming into our ADA machines, and it flows through our whole election. We just don't show their results on here. If I did show their results on here, it'd be all zeros because we don't count them they count them up there. So we just removed that so that you wouldn't see their amounts, just because it gets confusing, but that's why it shows 7 of 9. And then you'll see each of the districts. You have the Canyon Creek Rural Fire, you have the Tri-Lakes, and then of course the school districts after that. And then you will see that Wendy had 117 votes, Sam had 104, and Judith 76 for the Canyon Creek. And on the Tri-Lakes, Rick had 623, Mark had 596, and Art had 327. And then on here too, we have overvotes and undervotes. Overvotes mean they filled in the overvote for more candidates that were available to be voted on. We had several that had 2 or 3 positions open in this election. So that means they would have voted for more than what was allowed on that particular race. And then the undervotes are going to be that they did not vote for anybody in that particular race on their ballot.
Yeah, so it'd be less. I think technically 2
And it
if
would
they fill in
be-
1 instead
yeah.
of 2.
Yeah.
It counts 1 under.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, in this instance, school district 1 had 3 candidates that could be voted for, so that undervote could be if they only voted for 1 or 2 candidates. And then the rest of the races where there was 2 candidates available, it could be that they only voted for 1 or none. So it was a little confusing on election night as we were trying to figure out how many ballots had come in versus what the results were, because you can't really tell. And you'll notice that when you look at our Canyon Creek totals, we had 192 ballots that were cast, but you know, at the bottom here, the votes cast were 315 because that was split between candidates, and there was actually 2 people to vote for. And the same with Tri-Lakes, they had multiple candidates, if I remember right.
Yeah, there were vote for 2 as well.
Vote for 2,
Or
yes.
rather, vote
So,
for 2 technically.
all right, so at this point, I would ask the board if they had any questions before we have you certify the results.
I'm very rudely been asking my questions, those people will want to. Okay, Tom, do you have any questions?
That looks pretty straightforward.
Nothing from the movie here. We're trying.
They're just not as easily confused as I am. Okay, we have, okay, we have no more questions from the official canvassers. Is there any public?
We'll do that
Oh.
after the motion is made to accept the results, then we do once we're done with our
Then
canvass.
we do the public.
You
Okay.
could also charge us with a recount if you wanted to, or you could also want to examine the ballots. There isn't just one motion you can make in statute, there are a few others, but considering you guys don't have any questions, I suspect the motion would probably be to accept, but that's just me.
And we also have one box.
Reports.
So exciting. Usually I have this long cart with like 5 or 6 boxes of stuff, but we only have one box for this entire election, which is amazing because it also included a school. But like I said, we were streamlining some of our forms. We have duplex forms, and our processes went fairly smoothly. So, but we do have that if you felt like you needed to examine it before we go on further.
Wish to examine. Do you, Tom?
Pardon me?
Do you have a wish to examine that?
No.
And you? Nope, I think all of us say those people are better at numbers than we are.
Treasurer,
All
clerk,
right.
and recorder.
What's that?
Treasurer, clerk, and recorder.
See?
He's trying
Numbers
to
are her
say,
things. Are her thing.
The motion would be to either approve or disapprove the election results as presented. I would move to approve the election results as presented.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve the election results as presented to us. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Same sign. And this is approved unanimously.
Certificates to sign.
Is there any public comment?
to make a comment.
State your name.
Wendy Adamson from Canyon Creek. And I wanted to thank the staff for holding a well-run election and all of the extra help we needed. I am very pleased of the engagement of our district and very pleased that the landowners got involved, which was extra work for the staff. And I just want to thank them again for helping us with this turnout. I'm pleased with the result of the voter turnout result. Has been a push that we have tried to do to improve our engagement, and I'm grateful that we succeed in the numbers.
Any other further public comment? Seeing none. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Wendy and Sam. Mr. President.
Yes, we'll be swearing you in here shortly.
Yes.
Very good.
So don't go anywhere.